My name is Sean Evanson Shanley. I'm Director of Residential Operations with Viridiant, and this webinar will cover the energy efficiency and green building section of the 2019 QAP. So right now, the changes to the QAP are still considered a draft version, but they have been approved by the VHDA board. The draft is available on the VHDA website. It's a redline version so that you're able to see the changes from the 2017 version to the 2019 version. And today is going to be a high-level overview to orient you as to what these changes mean. So we'll cover the requirements, the optional points you can pursue, and a new section that I'll call future points. So first, let's cover the required items. If you have a new construction project, it must meet Energy Star. And there are currently two pathways for Energy Star, one for buildings that are 5 stories or less, and one for buildings that are 6 stories or taller. There are a few exceptions, and I'll talk more about this on the next slide. For renovations, there are 2 options. You're able to either demonstrate a 30% or better improvement in energy efficiency, or achieve a HERS index of 80 or below. And then adaptive reuse projects will need to achieve a HERS of 95 or below. If you're going to pursue the 30% improvement or better, you'll need to have an audit of the current buildings to assess their current energy efficiency, and that will allow energy models to be built to both of the current conditions and of the conditions with the proposed changes to figure out what that percent improvement will be. If you opt for the HERS building and of your proposed scope, it is a good idea to still get one to help guide your decision in what you choose to do for your energy efficiency improvements, but it is optional. Moving on to a bit more detail about Energy Star. This chart's it's a lot on there. It's available on the Energy Star website, and it essentially helps you to determine which pathway your project will need to follow. It largely shakes out to, if you have 5 stories or fewer, you'll be able to pursue the certified homes. And if you have 6 stories or more, you'll have to pursue the Energy Star multifamily high-rise pathway. But there are some qualifiers in there, so you'll probably want to work through this for your specific project just to make sure that you are using the correct pathway. If you are able to use the Energy Star Certified Homes program, this will be pretty similar to your current experience with EarthCraft. It looks primarily at the residential units and requires a HERS score. If you end up having to use the multifamily high-rise program, that will be a bit different in that it also includes a number of items around common areas in your common area systems. So you're going to have a greater energy efficiency related scope than you're used to. There is currently, for the multifamily high-rise path, both prescriptive and a performance path that you can utilize. So it's worth noting that the prescriptive path will likely be disallowed after the 2015 building code takes effect in Virginia at the end of next year. If you are using the performance path, the high-rise option, that will require a whole building ASHRAE 90.1 model. So this will be different than the HERS models that you're used to. And regardless of which one of these Energy Star pathways you utilize, you will still have to do blower door and duct blaster testing, as well as on-site inspections during construction. To make things a little bit more cloudy, it's worth noting that even though there's 2 different pathways currently, Energy Star is seeking to bring everything under one umbrella multifamily program. And that program is going to be released at the beginning of 2019, and it will become required in 2021. And this will replace those current 2 options, the Energy Star Certified Homes and the Energy Star Multifamily High-Rise. And the way that Energy Star works is off of permit dates, so it won't have anything to do with the date that you submit your LIHTC application. It'll be when your project receives a permit until 2021. You'll end up needing to use this new program, assuming it doesn't get delayed. The requirements and documents for this new umbrella program are available currently, so you're able to find those on the Energy Star website. So you could do some initial due diligence if you're doing a new construction project, just to see what those new requirements are and perhaps design those into your project. When this new version is released in 2019, you will have the option to utilize this program. It won't be required, but if you just want to get ahead of things and choose to use the new umbrella program, you'll have that option. And I know that there's a lot of moving pieces with these Energy Star projects, so if you have any questions, you can certainly feel free to reach out to us after the webinar to get more clarification around your specific project. So moving on to the optional points, in this section, you're able to get 10 points for pursuing a green building program. You only are able to get that for a single program, so the max points you will be allowed to earn in this section are 10. So this has some similarities to the current program in that EarthCraft and LEED are still options. There have been 2 new programs added to this section, Enterprise Green Communities and the National Green Building Standard, or NGBS. Choosing to certify under any one of these 4 programs will earn 10 points on the QAP, and each of these programs does largely address the same categories such as energy and water efficiency, indoor air quality, durability, efficient material use during construction, as well as the location of the project site. Each program is going to require that you hit a certain energy efficiency target. It's going to require site verification. You'll have to meet certain requirements on a scoring worksheet, and then you'll also need to earn enough optional points. Some things you'll want to keep in mind when deciding on which program to pursue. If your specific project is going to meet the program's eligibility requirements, they each have slightly different requirements, so you'll definitely want to double check that. You'll also want to consider your team's familiarity with the program, since there is certainly a learning curve with each program, and there is a greater risk of missing a requirement or not certifying as you work with a new program. You'll also want to check to see if there's a verifier for the program that's in geographic proximity to the project, and you'll also need to make sure that the VHDA approved list of ResNet providers. VHDA will be maintaining a list of qualified professionals who are able to work on these projects. That list is not yet out yet. In terms of cost, you'll want to keep in mind that there's going to be a cost for verification, and some programs additionally have a registration and certification cost. And another thing to keep in mind that a lot of people don't consider is just how long it takes for the certification to be reviewed. Some programs will get the certification, the initial review completed within 2 weeks, some up to 4, and some a little bit longer. So consider that, since I know with a lot of these projects, the timeline at the end of the project is pretty tight. Moving forward into the optional points, the future points. So this is a new category that VHDA has introduced, and it allows you to earn points for future applications, future projects that you might submit QAP applications for. The way that it works is if the current project that you're working on earns, and when I say current, I mean 2019 or 2020, if that project earns the Zero Energy Ready Home or the Passive House certification, and a principal on that project is also a principal on a future application, you're able to earn up to 20 points to be applied to that future application. Essentially, you can earn 10 points for each of these programs, Zero Energy Ready and Passive House, and it's cumulative, so you can earn up to 20 points total. Of these 2 programs, Zero Energy Ready Home represents more of an incremental improvement to current building practices. It's going to focus on cost-effectively making a home as efficient as possible in order to reduce the future costs of potentially adding enough solar to make the home net zero. It does not require installing solar. Some projects will need to add the infrastructure, such as conduit and having a set place for an inverter to go. But that's going to be project to project. In our state, there's certain requirements that allow you to be exempted from that. And so we'll need to evaluate each project to see if you're exempted from that. And while Zero Energy Ready is more of an incremental improvement, Passive House usually does require pretty significant design changes from a standard project in order to be eligible. So this is one where you'll need to really sit down with your design team early and plan specifically for Passive House. If it's something where you sort of attempt to cobble on measures towards the end, it will, or mid-design, it'll be next to impossible to meet this. To achieve the Passive House certification, you're going to be looking at much higher insulation levels. There's going to be a very significant focus on air sealing, and you'll likely need to use non-standard mechanical systems, systems that you typically aren't using in your project, such as ducted mini splits or ductless mini splits. As a plus though, if the project does certify under Passive House, it will also earn the Zero Energy Ready home label, so you'll be able to get that full 20 points. And it's worth noting that both of these programs, Zero Energy Ready and Passive House, do require also earning the EPA Indoor Air Plus label, as well as Energy Star. And I mentioned Energy Star in case you're thinking of trying for Zero Energy Ready or Passive House for a renovation project. That would mean that your project would be held to a new construction standard, even though it's a renovation. So it's just something to keep in mind, that it will be fairly challenging to do that, though not impossible. And briefly to touch on Zero Energy Ready, it's one of those programs where we feel that it's a stretch for projects to achieve, but it's a realistic stretch. It is an incremental improvement over what you'll need to achieve for Energy Star if we're talking about a new construction project. And so this is an example of a zero energy project. It was able to get the full net zero certification. And I just wanted to demonstrate the cost that it took to get this to that level and compare that to the 2018 average LIHTC foot. So if you look at this chart over on the left, you'll see that the total cost was $136 per square foot. And that cost, when we added that up, excluded their cost for solar. So this is looking at the cost it would have taken them to get to the Zero Energy Ready level. They then spent an additional $12 per square foot in order to get down to net zero. So that solar cost would have been an additional 3 to 4% premium to achieve zero energy. And then the average cost for 2018 LIHTC project is about $141 per square foot. So this project was able to do that average cost, and that was through some planning that was done off the bat. They knew that this was their goal, so the team sat down early to put the changes into place. And it was definitely a change from their typical construction, but it was small changes that were able to get them where they wanted to be cost effectively. If you do try to, add measures later on into the project to get down to the Zero Energy Ready level and cobble those measures on, it's definitely going to be more expensive than planning for those to begin with. In terms of cost, just to sort of orient you to this, so each program is going to have a slightly different cost structure. So Energy Star, there's not going to be any additional registration or certification cost. It's just going to be the cost for verification. EarthCraft is going to be the same way. If we're talking about Passive House, that one has a registration cost. Then NGBS has a certification cost. And then LEED has both a registration and certification cost. So you'll definitely just want to keep that in the back of your mind and make sure that you are assessing the full cost for certification and not just comparing verification costs when you go and bid out the green building programs that you're going to use. And it's also worth mentioning that each of these programs has a different level of rigor to it, and there's likely going to be variability in the level of energy efficiency that's achieved with each one of the programs. So this will impact the property's utility allowances. So first question, does VHDA require Energy Star version 2 or 3? They do require certification, and the only Energy Star certification that can be earned right now is Energy Star version 3. So you will have to use Energy Star version 3. Next question is, what is required to document Energy Star compliance? So for Energy Star, there are several pieces to it. One is earning a certain HERS index through an energy model. So similar to the EarthCraft process, you'll have to have an energy model done to generate the HERS index to make sure that that aspect complies. And then there are site inspections and checklists that need to be completed. One of the checklists needs to be completed by the HVAC contractor. The HVAC contractor does have to undergo a specific training and be listed as having passed that training. So that's something you'll want to keep in mind as you select an HVAC contractor. And if you have questions on that, we can point you in the direction of where to check that qualification. And then the remaining checklists, there's one that will be completed by the builder, and then there are two that will be completed by the HERS rater. And it'll be similar inspections to what you experience now, a pre-drywall and a final, as well as inspections in between to make sure that you're still on track. And there will be blower door and duct blaster testing. And most people performing those tests will utilize the sampling protocols for that. Let's see. So in terms of the EarthCraft certification, and if there are more points being awarded for different levels of EarthCraft certification, the HTA has specified which level of which program must be achieved. So for EarthCraft, gold or higher must be achieved to get the 10 points. You don't achieve any extra points for doing a higher certification level. For NGBS, you have to achieve silver or higher, and again, there's no extra points for achieving a certain certification level over that. Let's see. Is EarthCraft benchmarking required for EarthCraft points? So VHDA in this version of the QAP does not either require or incentivize benchmarking. There's no points available for that. That being said, for the Energy Star high-rise program, benchmarking is required. And under the Energy Star umbrella program that will become required in 2021, that also requires benchmarking. So you need to check specifically with the programs that you're pursuing to see if benchmarking is required, but it will not be required for all projects. What is the schedule for the upcoming code transition? Assume this is around the 2015 building code, and that's going to become mandatory on September 4th of 2019. Projects are able to utilize that currently if they wish to, but it's not required until September 4th of 2019. And you will likely see changes in requirements to some of the green building programs and also to Energy Star as to what they're looking for, just to reflect that all of these programs ultimately are looking for a project to come in better than code. So as code improves, their requirements change in order to stay ahead of code. Let's see. Any other questions? I think if you wanted to unmute yourself, you'll need to raise your hand and then I can specifically unmute you, or you can just keep chatting in. Another question that came in, does Viridiant offer services for NGBS? Yes, we do. We can assist with any of the green building programs that are on the 2019 QAP. Let's see. Do we offer passive house field verification? Yes, we'll be able to offer passive house field verification. Is your sense that NGBS is more or less rigorous than EarthCraft Gold? Because NGBS has several different pathways that you can utilize to essentially meet their certification requirements. Because Energy Star is being required, there's testing that's going to occur that wouldn't necessarily otherwise have to occur with NGBS. So I'd say that both programs are going to be pretty similar in how rigorous they are, just because of that Energy Star baseline requirement. Any last questions? I'll give you guys a few more minutes to chat in or raise your hand so that I can unmute you. Okay. So I'll give you a few more minutes to chat in questions, but in the meantime, if you have any questions or want to follow up, feel free to reach out either to myself or Rob McCraney, and we're happy to provide you ballpark pricing or help you figure out which certification pathway is going to be most advantageous to you, and just generally help you navigate these changes. As I mentioned, these are still technically draft, but we don't anticipate seeing any additional changes to the QAP before it is official.